We're joined by Tennessee Congressman Chuck Fleischmann. He's a specialist on nuclear nonproliferation. He's the ranking Republican on the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Homeland Security. His district does include the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, which is important. I'll get to that in a second. Congressman, welcome. Welcome to New York.
Stuart, it's great to be here, sir.
What is your reaction when you see this picture of Kim Jong-un and the president shaking hands at the DMZ?
I'm so proud of President Trump. He has stepped up again. I've always said the American president, our commander-in-chief, needs to be the best American diplomat, and President Trump has done that again today. Let's face it, North Korea has been a problem because Republicans and Democrats, the House, the Senate, and the White House for years has unfortunately let the situation devolve into the mess that it is. President Trump has told the world that he's going to lead. He is leading. He's done a great job.
You are a non-nuclear, non-proliferation expert. What would you like to see? And the reason I mentioned the Oak Ridge, Tennessee facility is because that's where, in 2003, Muammar Gaddafi sent all of his nuclear material, 25 tons of equipment. What do you think is realistic in dealing with Kim Jong-un?
Stuart, I'm so glad that you raised that because so many in America don't know that the United States leads the world in nuclear non-proliferation. What that means is we will go out, and if a rogue nation or a rogue person has these weapons of mass destruction, we will actually go out and take them and secure them. So we make the world a lot safer. We do that at Oak Ridge through the NNSA and do a great job. What I'd like to see in North Korea ultimately is total denuclearization, nothing less. And I think the president is driving the negotiations exactly in the right direction. We have got to see a nuclear-free North Korea.
How do we achieve that when he doesn't open up his facilities? He's still testing the material. He's still apparently violating UN regulations on nuclear material that they have. Do you think he will ever actually realistically do that when his whole basis of that regime is based on a military-industrial nuclear complex?
I think ultimately he will have to do this. It's a process, and it didn't get there in a day, and it's not going to take a day or two to solve this. The situation, I think, is such that we keep the sanctions on. We need to let the American people know that the sanctions are still in place. That's very important. The sanctions may, in some instances, get tougher. I know some in Congress are looking at that. But ultimately, we have to have dialogue. Whether you have a friend, whether you have a foe, you have got to have dialogue. And that's really where the genius of President Trump has come in. He has worked very hard to make sure that that dialogue is open with our friends and our foes. North Korea is still a foe. They have acted wrongly. They have destabilized the entire peninsula. They've upset our allies. And I think in many ways they've even upset the Chinese.
You mentioned some actions in Congress. So we were reporting on the Ottawa-Warmbier-Brink Act. That is a Senate bill by Chris Van Hollen of Maryland, a Democrat, and Pat Toomey, a Republican of Pennsylvania. That would slap more sanctions on the banks that provide the money flow that supports Kim Jong-un's regime. Here are the senators talking about what they want to see.
Senator Toomey and I and our colleagues on a bipartisan basis believe we need to keep on maximum economic pressure if we want to keep Kim Jong-un's attention and achieve our goal. And right now, the sanction regime is like a sieve. It's got lots of holes in it. And until we plug those holes, we're not going to achieve our goal of maximum pressure.
We're going to make those Chinese banks decide, do you want to have access to the U.S. dollar banking system globally, or do you want to keep doing business with North Korea? I want them to have to choose. I'm pretty sure I know what choice they'll make, and that is designed to increase the economic pressure on Kim.
So the goal is for these banks and financial institutions to either do business with Kim or with the United States, not both.
That's right. That's right.
Should these sanctions, do you think, Congressman, be put on, or are they out there as leverage?
Eric, I think the threat of additional sanctions is always very important and always a good tool. Look how President Trump has used that with Mexico, and they totally re-engaged in the process of keeping people just pouring through their country. So we need to keep the sanctions in place until we see better action from North Korea. We need to keep the threat of additional sanctions in place. But, Eric, I think it's more important to realize North Korea is still dangerous. They're still potentially destabilizing. The goal is total denuclearization and bringing them into the international fold. We can do that. But in order to do that, you need peace through strength. You need strong negotiations. And I think President Trump today showed the world why he's a strong, great American president.